Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of To The Point podcast. Everybody's doing well on this Friday as we head into the long weekend, and we are officially 6 days away from the NFL season opening. College football started last night, so it's only fitting with the NFL season getting back. We're going to have a season preview show today, and there's nobody I'd rather do it with than my good pal, Matt Wright. Writer, how's your summer? And so good to have you back on the podcast.
Thanks, Jug. It's good to be back. Summer was good. Busy summer at the rink for champions, but a real good summer. Got to get a lot of kids on the ice. Saw a lot of kids getting better, and that's the main thing. And great summer. Spent a lot of time at the cottage. My parents just purchased a cottage in Grand Lake, and are moving down there full time. So spent a lot of weekends down there, and all in all, real good. But I just want to send a little quick shout out to a former teammate of mine. Drake Bathurst, and he just signed a contract with the Ottawa Senators. I know we're going to talk some football today, but former teammate of mine, real happy for him, junior A guy for 2 years before he went to the Q. There's always the highly touted guys going in as 16, 17-year-olds in the Q. And, it's good to see a guy spend a couple of years in junior A. And then before he goes to the Q and kind of really takes off, plays for Team Canada and, got his chance in the NHL and made the most of it. And now he just signed a 6-year contract. So he was just a young 16-year-old when I was 20-year-old in the Valley, but real happy for him, and couldn't have happened to a better guy.
Yeah, I echo every sentiment you just said. So good to see him. My parents are friends with his parents, and just see a Maritimer get that kind of money. Sean Couturier get a good contract earlier this summer, so we are seeing some Maritime boys start to cash in, which is always good. But yeah, congrats to Drake, and the Senators could be a good team in a few years here. Drake's going to be a big part of that. Maybe sign Brady Tkachuk. I would advise that. Maybe Pierre Dorian, maybe give him some money, but that's another podcast for another day. But yeah, today we're going to do a preview show, and we're going to go through each division, kind of talk about each team, what we see big from each team, what we're kind of expecting. And Writer, I didn't tell you which division we'd start with, but I thought you'd figure this one out. I thought we'd start with the AFC East. And normally the AFC East is for 20 years, is really one of the most boring divisions because it was just your Patriots with Tom Brady at the top of the heap. But, when Brady left, Patriots were pretty adequate last season, to say it nicely. But this division is starting to stack up. And I thought we'd start off with the news of Cam Newton being released. What was your reaction to hearing that the Patriots are heading with Mac Jones as QB1?
Yeah, it took me by shock, but at the same time, I think it was pretty well known that Cam Newton wasn't going to be the guy forever. I think it was kind of, even last year was kind of this thing of, Patriots were looking to draft a quarterback in the draft. There was no secrets there. And we talked about it after the draft. We were texting. I think the Patriots got their guy. I think that's exactly who they were kind of targeting. So the fact that they're kind of, some would say rushing into it, but at the same time, I don't think the Patriots see themselves winning the division this year. They have, Buffalo's probably going to win the division, or Miami. Miami's a really good team as well. Mm-hmm. So I think I like the move. I don't think they were going to stick with Cam for, 5-6 years. So obviously they're getting their guy and they want to start him early, see how it does. I think this shows right now to the fan base that, hey, this is a rebuilding year, even though I wouldn't say rebuilding, but retooling, I guess, and kind of a development year. But don't be afraid if they go out and win some football games either. I think they have a really good team. I think they made some really good moves in the offseason, and they're a sneaky team. It's going to be a really tough division. I think it's going to be, honestly, the most intriguing division in the AFC. I had that down as my most intriguing division, and I think it makes it for some exciting football this year. I think he's going to do well. I think, he's going to have his struggles like any rookie quarterback does, but I like the move, and I'm excited to see the Patriots get going there on a week from yesterday.
Yeah, I think he's going to be good as well. I think he's the most, for all the rookie quarterbacks, I think he's the most ready to play. You could say Trevor Lawrence, which he's been good, but I just think what Mac did at Alabama, I think he's ready to play. He looks, he looked good in his preseason snaps. I would worry about him getting sacked a little bit. Got sacked 4 times in the last game against the Giants, but he'll learn, protections and things like that. So I would advise him get ready for some blitzes. You got the Dolphins week 1. Brian Flores is a Belichick disciple. Belichick, he's known for rushing the passer, and Flores is going to see a rookie having Tua last year and say, we're going to bring the house at this guy. But I do think Mac can stand up to that. This is just a big picture question, Ryder, but if the Patriots cut Cam Newton because of a vaccine related reason, are you okay with that morally?
No, I'm not. It's a very gray area, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a much bigger topic than football. I don't think that is why they cut him. I really do believe that Mac Jones is their guy. And honestly, Mac Jones was a better quarterback than Cam Newton in the preseason, in my opinion. I thought he did enough to deserve that starting job. I don't think I agree with teams doing that, but at the same time, with the rules the NFL put in, if you can lose a game and be forfeited due to COVID tests, right? Coming back with players having COVID. So, and there's no makeup games. You're losing the game. So with how much money is involved in the NFL and, the wins and losses, and, you take a team, let's say you can't play due to COVID, you have a home game. There's a lot of money to a team losing, right? You only get 8 home games a year. So, or 9 home games a year, whatever it is. But I don't think that's why they cut him. But maybe it is, but I really do believe Mac's their guy. And I think whether the vaccine or not, I think this is a move they were going to make.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Cam's a tough guy to have as a backup because Cam is always going to be the center of attention. And that's not really his fault. That's just his personality. And I think there's nothing wrong with that because he's an entertaining guy. You listen to a Cam Newton interview or a Mac Jones interview, I'd rather listen to Cam 10 out of 10 times. Mac's very Brady in New England or Belichick, one-word answers that don't really make any sense. But looking at this division, I like New England, what they did. You got Mac, obviously they got Kendrick Bourne. They got Nelson Aguilar, 2 new tight ends, and Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. Where do they stack up to you as it sits right now in this division? Where do you think they will finish?
I have them battling for second place with Miami. I think Miami might just be a little bit better than them. But that's okay. Like I said, it's a strong division. So I have Buffalo winning the division. I think Buffalo is a potential Super Bowl candidate. You see what they did last year. I think their quarterback, Josh Allen, is just an amazing quarterback to watch. I really like their defense. I like everything that Buffalo's doing there. It'll be interesting to see where they're going to be playing here in a few years with not signing the field. So that's going to be a topic for another day. But I think they're going to finish second or third. But Miami's a good program too, and a big game week 1.
Yeah,
big game. So this is a massive game week 1. I can't overstate enough how important this game is for the season for both teams, the Patriots and Miami. But I think the Jets finished 4th. I think the Patriots, Miami, roughly right there, second, third, flip-flop, and I have Buffalo winning the division.
Yeah, I could see the second place finisher being a wild card team for sure, because the AFC is weaker than the NFC in my opinion. But 11-5 or 11-6 now with the new 17 game season. So I think it's gonna be a toss up. Like you said, most times you say, "Oh, division games are important. You should play a team twice a year." Well, for the longest time, it wasn't, because you knew New England was going to finish 12-4, and the second place would be 8-8. This year, I look at second and third, Dolphins and Pats. They're very close. And to me, the biggest X factor is Tua Tagovailoa. And how will he progress? There's no Ryan Fitzpatrick anymore. They got Devontae Parker, Gesicki, Jalen Waddle, which I both know we didn't love. I think I can speak for you in saying I would have taken Devontae Smith if I was the Dolphins with that pick. Well, maybe Waddle would be great, but both teams have pretty solid defenses. But yeah, I think Tua is really the X factor to see if the Dolphins can be second or even push for a top seed in the AFC East.
For sure, it's definitely his show now. Let's see what you got. There was talks of bringing in the guy from Houston there, and they didn't do that yet. That can change yet. There's still, season hasn't started yet, but I think that it really does come down to what the quarterback does for Miami, what Tagovailoa does, because Miami has a good offense. They have a good defense. They have good special teams. It's kind of up to the quarterback to see if they can be they're supposed to be a playoff team this year. They've been building for this year to be a playoff team. Now they have to go out and do it.
Yeah, totally agree. The Bills, I agree. They got Stephon Diggs. They still have Josh Allen, who I think is one of the most entertaining quarterbacks to watch. If you're just going to tune into a game, I would say watch the Bills, because Josh Allen can throw it 80 yards, or he can, run over people for 35. He's fun. They got Diggs. They got Emmanuel Sanders, which I think is a sneaky good ad in the offseason. He's still got game. I look at their running back position, right? And we talked about this last year. The Steelers angered me what they did in the running game. And then Buffalo, it's shocking their defense wasn't great last year, and their running game was pretty porous. That just tells you how good Josh Allen was last year. Yeah. But they come back with Devin Singletary. They didn't upgrade the position. I find that very frustrating, and I don't know why Brandon Beane didn't address this.
Yeah, it is an interesting move, because Singletary would put up 45 yards. If he put up over 50 yards a game, it was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
But he'd run 20 times and throw up 38, 40 yards, which that's not okay. You can't be doing, 2nd and 9 every time, or putting more pressure on Josh Allen to throw. And when you only have when the other team knows you're throwing every time, it's pretty easy to defend. I mean, even against an MVP candidate like Josh Allen. And I think that it is strange that they didn't address it. Maybe they have someone behind Singletary that could shine. Maybe Singletary breaks off. I don't see it, but that's something that, say they're going to have to look at the first few weeks. And to me, they're going to have to trade for a running back this year.
Yeah, I agree. This division, Gaskin in Miami, he's kind of similar to Singletary. He's kind of hit or miss. New England is intriguing because of just the plethora of running backs that they have. I mean, Damian Harris, Rondre Stevenson, who Belichick, give him some carries, because this guy can play. J.J. Taylor still got old. James White, the old faithful there. But the running game could be the difference, for the Patriots of being a playoff team, because Mac, to me, the Pats will be successful this year if Mac Jones is Tom Brady 2001. Where it was running game, special teams, defense was above quarterback play. And I think that is what Belichick will try to do this year.
For sure. I think you're going to see the Patriots run the ball more than they have in the last 20 years this year. And they have the plethora of running backs. It's when you have that many running backs, one of them should have a good year.
Yeah.
Normally, there's probably going to be one that struggles. There's probably going to be one that's average, but there's probably going to be one that really explodes and has a good year. And the good thing about that, if someone gets hurt, next man up.
Yeah.
Right. Which a lot of teams don't have that ability. So the running game is definitely going to be more of a factor for the Patriots this year than ever before.
So, before we leave this division, talk about the Jets for a second. I do think the Jets are getting better. This division is just getting better as a whole. I think the AFC South has really replaced it as the dumpster division. But Zach Wilson, BYU, was a guy who wasn't even projected to be a first-round pick before last season, had a great year, similar to Joe Burrow, what he did at LSU, going from a projected fifth-round pick to going number 1 overall. What are you expecting from Zach Wilson this year? Because he doesn't have a veteran behind him, which is still mind-boggling to me that they didn't get a veteran to be behind Zach Wilson, just be a good backup. But what do you think his realistic expectation should be this season?
I think it should be just go out and just play football. As weird as this is to say, it's the most common thing to say. Just go out and play football. I don't think there's any pressure on the Jets to succeed this year looking at the division. I think the goal is to win more than 1 or 2 games. I think if they can go out and win 4 or 5 games, I think that's a good season for the Jets, honestly, which is bad to say. Winning 4 or 5 games is a positive. But if they can go out and win 4 or 5 games, I think that's building in the right direction. Football is a marathon, not a sprint. You can't turn things around overnight.
Right.
Other leagues you can, but in football, it really does take a few years. I think Zach Wilson's going to be a great quarterback, and I like the moves they made in the offseason. I think they're still nowhere near the other 3 teams, but you'll see how the season goes. Maybe they get off to win a couple games early, and you never know, go on a Cinderella run. But I think if they win maybe 5-6 games, that's a good season for the Jets.
Absolutely. They could have easily not won a game last year. They tried to. until the very end. So I look at it and say, just don't let what happened to Joe Burrow happen to Zach Wilson. And I don't think it will, because I look at their O-line. They got 3 first-round picks on their offensive line. Mekhi Becton is a stud. It's tough to see really good O-linemen and, evaluate them, even for us who are football junkies, but the guy can just mow people over. I mean, the guy is a huge human being at left tackle. They drafted Vera Tucker from USC, who's a promising guard. And then they have George Fant. So keep Wilson healthy. If he throws a ton of picks, that's okay. Look at Troy Aikman. Look at Peyton Manning. It happens. I'm not saying Zach Wilson's going to have a Hall of Fame career, but the Jets, for once, don't give up on a quarterback because he has one bad season. Give him some time and don't throw him to the wolves like you did Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's exactly what they're going to do. And I think they're going to protect him. I think he's going to go out, have a half decent season. Maybe it's really good. I don't think he's got a lot of weapons to work with, but you know what? Go out and hopefully win 4 to 6 games and keep going, keep building.
Yeah. Totally agree. Fun to watch Zach Wilson anyway, because he reminds me a little bit of Aaron Rodgers and Mahomes with some of the things he tries to do in the field. Pivoting to the AFC North. This division is similar to the AFC East because it is front loaded. We got Cincinnati, who will likely be the last place team, but then we have 3 teams who are all in the postseason last year. Let's start with Cleveland. Wrighter, Cleveland's, to me, they're stacked. Going through their depth chart last night, you got Baker at quarterback. People love him, people hate him. I think he's just a pretty good quarterback. He's not going to win you every game by himself, but I think he's very good. Then you got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt at running back. Odell Beckham Jr. is coming back with Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, an elite O-line. Cleveland looks like, to me on paper, they are the front runner to win this division.
I have Cleveland winning the division. Actually, I have Cleveland winning the division. I wouldn't say very easily, but I have them winning by a couple games. I just think they're stacked. Like you said, they're stacked. And I hate the fact that every team's fans in the league, they think their quarterback has to be an MVP every year.
Right.
You don't need that. Like if Baker goes out, look at the running game he has. Look at his receivers. If he goes out and just has a good season, that's all they need. He doesn't have to go out and be an MVP. Like you have Chubb. You have all the weapons out wide. You don't need to be an MVP. And I think if they can just take the pressure, I think having all these weapons takes a lot of pressure off them. I really do hope they use their running game because I think their offensive line is amazing. I think they have 2 of the best running backs in the league. So use your run game. But I love the Browns to win this division. And then after that, I think once again, it's a toss up between Pittsburgh and Baltimore. I think Baltimore's, a little better. I think Big Ben he's old. But he can still win football games. He's a Super Bowl champion, MVP of the league. I like Baltimore second. I have Pittsburgh third, and I have the Bengals fourth, but the Bengals are kind of like the Jets. I just hope their quarterback can stay healthy. I hope that they protect Burrow. Like we said, I know we were a little upset about the draft, the way they went on the first round, but I hope they can protect Burrow. And to me, this is kind of a rookie year again for Burrow. It's not, even though it's the second year, we don't really know what he is yet. So hopefully he has a good season.
Yeah. Before we get to the aforementioned Pittsburgh and Baltimore, Cincinnati, God, there's certain teams who just like to get in their own way. And they draft Joe Burrow, tears his ACL, MCL, and LCL. Very serious injury. Threw 2 passes in the preseason. Doesn't look comfortable throwing. Like he looks, and I can't blame him. I'd be scared too playing behind that O-line. And they didn't protect him last year. He got killed. I look at this team again, and you mentioned the draft. At the 5th pick, Penei Sewell was sitting there, and he's a great player from Oregon. And we don't know if he's going to be any good yet. But to me, you draft the best player available, not a player for need. And to me, these both fit. I think Penei Sewell was the better player than Jamar Chase, and you needed a tackle. And for me, I get Burrow played with Jamar Chase at LSU. They won a national championship, but Penei Sewell was the obvious pick, and they just went, I don't know what happened. They just made a stupid selection in my mind. Yeah,
I think we agreed on that. The draft night, it was very surprising they went that way. And I think it's going to be another long year for Cincinnati. If they can win 3 or 4 games, 5 games. That's awesome. I don't see them doing any damage, especially with how good the Browns are. And Pittsburgh's still a good football team, and Baltimore could surprise and win the division. You never know. So it's a tough division for Cincinnati.
Does Cincinnati win the division game this year?
Yeah, they'll find a way to win one. They'll win one, I think. I think they'll find a way to beat Pittsburgh. I don't know why. Pittsburgh finds a way to get off to a hot start and then loses games that they shouldn't. And chances are that will happen again.
Yeah, so, Cincinnati beat them last year, late in the year. So, okay, who will have a higher pick, the Jets or Cincinnati?
Oh, man. Throw me on the spot with that one. I think that the Cincinnati will have a higher pick.
Yeah,
I think the Jets will win a few games. I think the Jets are better than Cincinnati too. So, and both divisions are tough. So I think the Jets will win a couple non-division games.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go to Baltimore, where Lamar Jackson's still Lamar. Won his first playoff game last year, obviously an MVP of the league. People, there's detractors of Lamar, which I don't completely get. I think he's a great player, and people might not love that he runs the football, but whatever. It works for him. But J.K. Dobbins went down on Saturday. Big loss, torn ACL, out for the year. Rashad Bateman hasn't practiced, hasn't played the entire preseason. I know we both liked him out of Minnesota. They missed him last night. Hollywood Brown is recovering, but he hasn't been exactly a great player in the NFL so far. Still has Mark Andrews, who, the old reliable, but the weapons are not exactly, the cupboard's not exactly stocked for Lamar Jackson to start the year here.
No, I think it all depends on Lamar Jackson. You hate to put pressure on a quarterback, but like you said, they don't really have that, the weapons to work with. He's going to have to run the ball. And the other thing, their defense isn't like it used to be. It's still not bad, but it's not great. And the other thing too is, before we get going, congratulations to Baltimore, their preseason record. Amazing. I think it's 20 some wins in a row in preseason. So they love the preseason games, but I don't think they're as good as the Browns, nowhere near, but they could grab a wild card spot. That wouldn't surprise me if they sneak into playoffs.
Yeah, they got a good O-line, so that bodes well. Lamar, you can't underestimate him. He's always there. You talked about Pittsburgh. They finally got a run game. They drafted Najee Harris. They revamped their offensive line. Does Big Ben still have enough in the tank to push for another playoff spot this year?
I don't see it with with Miami getting better,
New England,
Patriots getting better, Browns getting better, Baltimore still being good,
Colts,
Tennessee. I don't see them sneaking in there. You never know, but Big Ben, he can still play. He's still a good quarterback, but I just still don't think they have enough to get it done. But you know what? They're a good football team, and it's okay to be a good football team, and they might sneak in.
Yeah, I think they'll be close to 500 like they always are. Mike Tomlin's never been under 500 in his, I think, 15 years coaching, which is pretty incredible if you think about it. And if there is a guy that would will this team to the playoffs, it would be Mike Tomlin. If I could pick a coach to play for, it would be Mike Tomlin, because I just think the guy's great. You listen to him talk, you want to run through a wall for that guy. And but we'll see. They're intriguing. They got Buffalo week 1. It's a good game on the dock. I don't think if you're going to go 11-0, it's a tough way like they did last year. It's a tough draw to get week 1. I think it's at Buffalo as well. So tough matchup for them. Let's pivot to the AFC South, where this division, it's clearly Colts or Tennessee, but let's start with the two teams kind of at the bottom end of the barrel here. Jacksonville had the first pick in the draft. They took Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson. He's already lost Travis Etienne, their 25th overall pick, to Liz Frank, surgery on his foot. So he's out for the year. Urban Meyer coming to the NFL. We'll see how that experiment works. Is Jacksonville an intriguing team for you this year?
Yes, because my roommate took him in his fantasy draft, but there's a lot of
to finish last.
What's that? keeper league, dynasty league. So I'll give him props there. But in fairness, QB2, not QB1. But
right.
in fairness, I just don't see them being that good.
No.
I like Lawrence. I think he's going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. I watched the preseason game. Can't believe I watched the Jacksonville preseason game. So like there is more hype. Yes, against the Cowboys.
I watched that too. Yeah.
And they actually won money on it, so I guess it was worth watching. But I just don't think they're going to be very good. I mean Houston's going to be a dumpster fire. We already know what's going on there. I don't think anyone's going to tune into many Houston games. I don't see them winning. I don't see them winning many games this year. But Jacksonville, they're not there yet. There's a lot of hype around them, but they just don't have a good enough football team to win a lot of games. Now, if they do, Trevor Lawrence is going to win Rookie of the Year. But I just don't see them being that good. But the division's weak, so they could win some. They could win some games.
We know they get to play Houston twice.
Exactly. So they should get 2.
They should win those. Yeah. Again, this is keep Trevor Lawrence upright. Don't let him get killed. Protect him. And for Urban Meyer, the biggest thing for him is just going to be, you're going to lose a lot. You're going to lose more than you ever have in your life. Same for Trevor. I looked it up. Trevor Lawrence has lost 4 games combined in high school and college. You're going to lose that by October. Like you need to play well, but you need to accept that defeat is coming. Right. That's probably not going to be easy for either guy because they both have big egos. And for Urban, don't put too much pressure on this kid. Let him play. And then for Trevor, just do your thing. You don't got a whole lot of weapons, but throw the ball away. Do an Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. Don't be a hero and try to, light up Jacksonville. Throw the ball away if it isn't there. Do what you have to do. Just kind of stay alive and try to win some games when you have available to you.
For sure. And I guess one good thing is good for the city of Jacksonville that they have some hype around the team for a few years. They were good. Right. They took the Patriots to the wire there 3 or 4 years ago, whatever it was. But I just hope that they don't put too much pressure on them. They're already blowing it up more than they should, in my opinion. I don't think they're going to be that good.
Yeah. Houston. Yeah, they would look terrible if only Houston wasn't in their division. No Deshaun Watson, likely going to be on the commissioner's exempt list, I assume. Still nothing yet on that, but we'll see. But Tyrod Taylor at quarterback, maybe they sign Cam. I think Cam would be a better option, but again, he's not vaccinated. There's a whole politics of that. But Houston, I'd be surprised if they don't get the first overall pick in next year's draft.
Yeah, if they win a game or 2, good for them. I really think they're going to struggle. I mean, crazier things have happened. They might go on a run and win some games, but I really don't see them winning many football games this year. It's going to be a long, I'd say 2 or 3 years in the city of Cleveland or city of Houston.
Yeah, they're old and they don't really have a whole lot to brag about. And Spencer Rattler or Sam Howell, get ready to go to Houston and, get ready for that because somebody's going there and they're likely going to have that first pick in the draft. So who's going to win the AFC South? We got the Colts, Carson Wentz, new quarterback in Indy, reignited with Frank Wright. Ryan Tannehill still in Tennessee. Arthur Smith has departed to Atlanta. He's their new head coach, a new offense there. They still have Derrick Henry. They acquired Julio Jones. Who do you like, Colts or Titans, to win this division?
I like the Titans. I like the Titans a little bit more than the Colts, but that being said, the Colts could beat them. I really am looking forward to when they play each other. I think the division's going to come down to those 2 games against each other. So I do like Tennessee. I think they're just a little better, but honestly, it's a coin flip for me on that one, but I'm going to go Tennessee.
Yeah, I like Tannehill more than I like Carson Wentz. I think Tannehill's one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the entire NFL. He doesn't get enough respect. They talk about Derrick Henry. I think he's very good. Colts, great offensive line with Nelson, your boy out of Notre Dame, and Ryan Kelly and Golinsky and Eric Fisher. And, they have a great defense as well. The Colts are pretty well loaded. Like the receivers could be better, whatever, but I think they have a very good team. I just look at Wentz and I'm like, okay, he's either going to get COVID because we know he's not vaccinated because he's talks about that every other day. he's going to get injured or something. He's just going to play like crap. This guy, just something always happens with this guy. And it's normally not positive. Where I look at Tannehill stable, Derrick Henry, I don't see slowing down. Julio can still play. And they got Bud Dupree. They got Autry from the Colts. Janoris Jenkins moves over from the Saints. I trust the reliability of Tannehill more than I do Carson Wentz. And that's why I agree with you that Titans will win this division by a game, maybe. Yeah, like it could come down to the last meeting between the two of them.
Yep. No, I agree. I think it's going to come down to the wire between those two teams, but I like Tennessee a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely a tight battle. AFC West, intriguing division somewhat. Obviously, we got the Chiefs who should be at the top here, but Denver to me, Writer, just looking up their roster, I like Denver. I don't love their quarterback situation. I like it. I don't love it. I think if they had an elite quarterback, I think Denver's a Super Bowl contender. I think they're that good, their roster. But what do you make of them going with Teddy B over Drew Lock?
I think that Drew Lock has never been their guy. I think ever since they had him, I think that they've never been comfortable with him behind. I think Teddy is a little more, he'll take some deeper shots. He may win you, he may lose you, but their defense is good enough that if he throws a couple picks, they could probably still weather the storm. Mm-hmm. I think it's a ballsy move, I guess, but in saying, I think neither one is that's a number one quarterback in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So I think you could see both of them getting some games this year. I think it's not just going to be Bridgewater running the whole thing. I think both of them are going to play some games. But in that division, the most intriguing thing is the new house that Vegas owner built. I think that is the most intriguing thing about this division.
Yeah, beautiful stadium. Their Allegiant Stadium. That'll be on Monday Night Football Week 1 when the Ravens head to Vegas. But yeah, if there's a little fan giveaway to go to Vegas, sign me up. It looks like the greatest place on earth to go watch a football game.
You know what? I think Vegas is going to have a good year. I don't know why. I really don't. No. They're not like, you look at them on paper and they're not. I'm taking them like the Vegas Golden Knights. Okay. I think there's something in the water. Things are opening up again. Guys are going to be partying in Vegas. Games aren't until Sunday. Big weekends in Vegas. I see Vegas having a great home record this year.
Okay. Interesting.
Hot take. I have Vegas having a winning record at home this year.
Okay. Will Vegas be a playoff team?
Oh, man. You know what? Throw me down right now. I have Vegas having a better record than Denver. How about that?
Well, that's not saying a whole lot.
Well, you just said Super Bowl contender potentially if they had a quarterback.
I think if Denver had Aaron Rodgers, they could win a Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, if a lot of teams had Aaron Rodgers,
if Aaron Rodgers is in Jacksonville, they're not winning nothing.
Fair enough. I'm going to I can't put Vegas in there because the other divisions are no, I can't. I just can't do it because I think Baltimore, I think Miami, but I think they're going to be better this year. How about that?
How about this? Just a friendly wager, $20 between me and you. I'll take Denver. You can take Vegas. Have the better record.
All right, let's do it.
Fair enough. I have no faith in Teddy Bridgewater. I don't know why I just made that bet, but I'm banking on Von Miller just eating Derek Carr alive, I guess. I don't. But
well, you know what though? On Vegas, I think it actually is a very important year for Vegas. I think it is. It's either they get better or you blow the whole thing up.
Yeah, Spider Two-Eye Banana, aka Chucky, aka Gruden. He's 4 years hasn't even really been that close to having a winning record. It's been kind of abysmal. They got Josh Jacob back, which will help. He's the great Alabama running back. Henry Ruggs, they got hope can take another step. One thing I think, writers, Derek Carr takes all this blame. I think Derek Carr is a very good quarterback. Like Derek Carr is miles ahead of Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock. I think Derek Carr is a very solid quarterback. Their defense has been terrible ever since Gruden got there. And that it never gets talked about. It's always, Derek Carr is the problem. Derek Carr is not the issue in Vegas, in my opinion.
No, I think their defense has to improve, obviously, if they want to have a winning record. But it's an interesting division because the Chargers, I have no
I
idea
know.
what the Chargers are going to be. They could win 10 games, they could win 3. I actually have no clue about the Chargers. They're a complete out of the whole AFC. I find the Chargers I don't know. I don't have a read on them whatsoever.
I totally agree because you always say, oh, Chargers are finally going to make it. Then week 1, they'll lose 3 guys to injury. They'll be out for the year. And I think Herbert's a stud. I think we can both agree on that, but it's not just one player. He was great last year and they went 5-11. Like, they need Derwin James to stay healthy and they need some of their defensive players. They do have a great offensive line. Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern, and they brought Corey Linsley over from Green Bay and Brian Bulaga over from Green Bay. But I totally agree. I love their Keenan Allen is great, but this division's intriguing. I think Chiefs are clearly great, but the other 3 teams could all be very good if things break right for them.
For sure. I think the Chiefs handily win the division. I don't think we really need to talk about that too much because I think it's a sure thing they win the division. If they don't, either one of the teams had an unbelievable year or the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes got hurt. All right. Which we don't wish that upon anyone. So I think the Chiefs run away with the division, but the other 3, they could finish anywhere from looking at Vegas, the Chargers, and Denver. Any of the 3 of them could finish second.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. You're a big better, so I'll ask you this before we go pivot to the NFC. If you could take the Chiefs or the field in the AFC to reach the Super Bowl, who are you taking?
I'm taking the field.
Okay.
I think just because they've done it 2 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to do it again. Like it's so hard to do it twice, and that's amazing to them. There's just so many factors that can happen. Like all it takes is a couple guys to get hurt. All it takes is Patty Mahomes to miss a couple weeks, get hurt in playoffs. I'm going to take the field, but don't be surprised if they're there again in saying that. But I'm going to, in the playoffs, anything can happen in one game. I'm going to take the field.
Okay. If you had to so you would rather take Tampa Bay on odds to get back to the Super Bowl over Kansas City?
No, I think Kansas City over Tampa Bay. And the reason I think the NFC is stronger. I think the playoffs is going to be a lot tougher to get through than it is.
Right. Yeah. I think, I agree. I think Tampa's division is fairly weak or very weak potentially, but after the NFC West we'll get to is loaded. But let's go to the NFC. We'll start with the NFC East with quote unquote America's team. Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott's been out the entire preseason, hasn't played in 330 days after his horrific ankle injury, and then he's got a shoulder problem. So no preseason reps, hardly any practice reps. Zeke's coming back. They still have their plethora of receivers. Offensive line is back to being healthy. What are the expectations for the Cowboys this year?
Well, the expectations are to win the Super Bowl, right? Just like every other year with the Cowboys. But realistically, I mean, that's going to be a dogfight for the division at 8-8 or 9-8 with the 17.
Yeah.
It's going to be anyone's game. I honestly think, I think Dallas is going to be better than they were last year. Obviously Prescott's back. I think he's going to be healthy. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's a good quarterback. Elliott's going to have a better season. Let's be honest. He for him, if he doesn't have a good year, he could be out of the league in 2 years.
Could be cut.
He could be cut. He needs to have a big year. I think they're going to be better. Who's going to win the division? Ask me after week 8 or 9, maybe. I don't know. I think Washington has a really good D. I think their quarterback situation is questionable at best. Mm-hmm. Philly is another wild card, and the Giants are, there should be everyone in that division should be better because they were all so bad last year. They just don't know, right?
Yeah.
But I think Dallas is going to be better. I think they could contend to win the division.
Yeah, I think they should be right in that mix. But Washington, I like Fitzpatrick. I root for him because of his story and just, how many teams he's played for and bouncing around. But this team is really good. But
Yeah.
I look at Fitzpatrick, I'm like, some weeks he'll throw for 480. The next week he'll throw for 165 and 4 picks. And it's just he can't find that middle ground for him. And I told you look at their defense, Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, De'Aaron Payne, Sweat, Kendall, Landon Collins. I mean, it's loaded on their defense. I mean, Chase Young is going to kill some O-linemen this year. I think the guy is a flat out stud. But, to me, the big X factor is Dallas's O-line. La'el Collins was out for the year last year. Zach Martin was out for the year last year. So was Tyron Smith. He's had multiple neck injuries. I'm surprised he's even back playing. If that can stay healthy, I think that would help Zeke's season and also protect Dak. So that, to me, that's the biggest X factor, because I think it's between Washington and Dallas for me. The Giants, I just don't have enough faith in Danny Dimes to say that he's going to be good enough to win this division.
Yeah, I'm between. I had Washington winning the division and Dallas finishing second. That, like you said, that could be flip-flopped. Washington, if you're fantasy and there's defenses in fantasy, look at Washington D. I think if you put up 20 points against Washington defense, that's amazing. Really. I think they're going to have so many games where they shut teams down to less than 20 points. If Fitzmagic can be just a decent quarterback, not be up and down, then I think that Washington's D is good enough to win the division. But like you said, that offensive line, Dallas, Zach Martin's one of the best players in the league.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what anyone says. He was anyway. And if he can get back,
he's Hall of Famer.
Oh, 100%. Their offensive line are studs. So if they can get back to what they're doing, I mean, you give me 7 seconds in the pocket, I'm going to make some plays. And I haven't thrown a football in 5 years, but they're good. So hopefully, plain and simple, they're just good. So hopefully, Elliott's able to be better. Prescott's healthy, has a good year. And I think you can see Dallas, Washington is going to go down to those two. Philly could surprise people. You never know, but I don't see it. And the Giants are they're the Giants. I think they're going to win 5-6 games.
Yeah. Washington, Dallas, sneaky good Thanksgiving game.
Yeah. Great game.
Because otherwise they keep putting freaking Detroit on Thanksgiving, which pisses me off year after year. I don't want to watch Detroit ever. They stink.
There's nothing worse on Thanksgiving, waking up and then you're like, oh, can't wait for a good day of football, and you start with Detroit.
Yeah, like who wants to Chicago, Detroit? Like nobody wants to watch that. Nobody in Chicago wants to watch that game. Fitzmagic, it's a 17-game season this year. How many games does he start?
Well, the fact they don't have another quarterback there means there's.
What about Heineke?
Well, that's true, but I think he starts 11.
Okay, and then they go to Heineke later.
I think they go to Heineke in the middle and they go back to Fitzmagic at the end. I think what's going to happen is here's Fitzmagic will start. They'll be about, let's say, 3-3, then lose a couple games, 3-5. Then they're going to go to Heineke. He'll win a couple, then lose a couple. And then they'll go back to Fitzmagic for the last 3 or 4.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
That's my play out right there.
Yeah, I can't see him playing all 17. He's just too inconsistent to do it. But Philly, we texted about this in the preseason. Obviously, it's only the preseason, but take it with a grain of salt. But Philly looks terrible to me, Wrighter. Like they are. I get it. Joe Flacco's not going to be playing, but it wasn't just Joe Flacco. That defense was Swiss cheese as well. They're an old team. Like I looked, Jason Kelsey, he's 33. They got Brandon Brooks, he's 33. Lane Johnson's 33. Fletcher Cox is 34. It's a young man's game mostly, unless you're Tom Brady or unless you're a quarterback, let's be honest. And Jalen Hurts hasn't proven it. Like this team could be in a world of hurt this year, even in a really bad division.
Yeah, I have no faith in Philly. And honestly, since they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, I don't really like them anyway. So I wouldn't mind seeing them have a tough year. Yeah, I do want Smith to have a good year, though.
Me too.
I really do. I want him to have a good year. So if there'd be one bright spot for Philly, I hope he has a good year.
Totally agree. I know me and you both agree on that. We love Devontae. Crazy to see 3 Alabama starting quarterbacks. in the NFL. You normally it's wide receiver you or defensive back you. 3 starters week 1: Mac, Tua, and Jalen.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're a high school player, you want to go to Alabama now, apparently. So
Yeah.
the quarterback, right? So, and they have a stud this year in Alabama. So
Yeah, exactly.
it's it's obviously Alabama. As much as I'm not a massive Alabama fan, you know me, and I'm a Notre Dame Fighting Irish through and through, but they're producing players. So it's awesome to see that you get 3 quarterbacks starting from one program in the NFL. That's pretty hard to do. So congratulations to Alabama.
Yeah, good job, Nick Saban, Steve Sarkisian. Just could you make it a little bit more competitive this year, please? Just on behalf of both of us, that would be nice. Let's go to the NFC South. I mentioned this division. It could get interesting, but to me, Writer, this one's kind of like the AFC West, where Tampa is going to steamroll this division. To me, I don't see a team that's going to even put up really much of a fight. I think Tampa will have a very good record this year.
Yeah, I think Tampa Bay is going to be very good. I mean, they won the Super Bowl last year. Tom Brady still can play.
Mm-hmm.
They have weapons. They have another year together.
Player is back.
The whole team's back, and they have another year together. So if they don't win the division, honestly, there's something wrong. Hopefully everything's okay in New Orleans with what happened down there. That's awful. There's bigger things than football going on down there. So, but I don't think the Saints are going to be they could be interesting. I think the Panthers aren't very good, and I think the Falcons are terrible. So I just don't see the division being that intriguing. I see the Bucs winning 12, 13 games pretty easily.
Yeah, I could see the Bucs being 13 or even 14-3. Like I think they're very good.
I can see them losing games and not even caring that they lost the game because the division's so weak.
Totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree there. Carolina, could they jump into second? Like, is it Sam Darnold? Big year for him, obviously, with the new program, but I'm not giving up on Sam. I think he's a pretty good quarterback. It's tough to succeed with Adam Gase because he just ruins quarterbacks.
You hate Adam Gase.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I hate him.
There's not too many people you hate, but if that guy was walking down the street, I think you go to the other side of the road. And keep
yeah, I would. Yeah, he'd probably be walking too slow anyway, so I'd want to get by him. But he just ruined. Like, he made Ryan Tannehill look garbage. I thank God they didn't hire him in Alabama. Bryce Young would just be a bust this year. But what do you think? Christian McCaffrey is huge. He needs to stay healthy. He's like Saquon. They need to stay healthy.
For sure. And I think we didn't touch on Saquon with the Giants, and that's another thing. If the Giants want to have success, he has to have a good year, and he has to stay healthy. But the Panthers could definitely sneak into second. I think the Saints have taken a step back. Obviously, I mean, Drew Brees he's been their guy for 20 years, but I think the Panthers could get second. I think the Falcons are actually awful. Like, I'm sorry. Ever since their Super Bowl, they've just gone so far the wrong way. It's actually kind of embarrassing how far the wrong way they've gone. And I just don't see them being very successful. But the Panthers are intriguing. I think they'll have roughly a 500 record.
Yeah, their offensive line scares me. They got a bunch of guys like teams have cut, which always works. Elflein from the Vikings, he gave up 11 sacks last year. They got Cam Irving, who was with the Chiefs, so they cut. Remember that offensive line in the Super Bowl wasn't exactly stout. But yeah, okay. How about James in New Orleans? How many games does Jameis start this season?
Oh, great question. Is he week 1 starter? I think they did announce him.
Yeah, they're playing Green Bay week 1, but it'll be in Jacksonville, like you mentioned about Hurricane Ida.
Right. I think he'll start more than the dual threat.
Taysom.
I think they'll start. I think he'll play more than Taysom is my answer. How many games that is, I don't know, but I think he plays more than Taysom.
Yeah, I would play him basically. To me, I play him most of the year because you know what Taysom is too. It's not like Taysom's auditioning for something. To me, Taysom's just not a starting quarterback in the NFL. I love him as that wide receiver, running back, however you want to use him. I just think Jameis is a better quarterback than Taysom, and I'd rather have whether it's Trevor Siemian or your boy Ian Book as the backup and potentially come in, keep Taysom on the field, just not throwing passes.
Yeah, I'm completely okay with that. And I think watching the preseason, by the sounds of it and by everything say, I mean, he was throwing less interceptions in the preseason, and he seemed to have a pretty good preseason. So I am okay with them going with Winston, and his off the field antics were a little questionable back in the day, but that was back in the day, right? So he's hopefully matured, and hopefully he stops going for the long bomb every throw. And I think he could be a half decent quarterback, but I don't think the Saints are the division's not very good at the end of the day.
Yeah, that gives them more hope. We'll talk about this at the end, who we see making the playoffs, because the NFC does have some weaknesses in the divisions, I think, compared to the AFC. Let's go to the NFC North. You mentioned Detroit when it comes to Thanksgiving. Matthew Stafford's gone. He was there for over a decade. Most people thought he was a great quarterback. We'll see. We'll talk about him in the NFC West in a minute. But Jared Goff, the former first overall pick, is now in Detroit, coming over. 4 or 5 wins, Detroit.
Sure, I guess.
Okay, over under 5.
No, they'll go over. They'll win a couple games at the end of the year to ruin some teams. They'll get 6 wins, and they'll say they're right there. Goff's not a bad quarterback. Their team's just not very good. And you look at the division, I think the other 3 teams are better. So
yeah,
I think that the other 3 teams are just better than Detroit. And Detroit is honestly one of the laughing stocks of the league for a while. It's unfortunate because they have a very passionate fan base, but they just can't seem to get anything done. We'll see, but I don't see them winning. If they win 5, that's a good season for them.
Yeah, totally agree. And Jared Goff can't win this year, because if they're gonna have a losing record no matter what. Some people are gonna say, well, Jared Goff's not a good quarterback, and then Sean McVay will get lauded as he didn't take any blame for Jared Goff being less than elite. And I think he deserves some of the blame because he's calling the plays. So, a lot. We'll see what he can do with Stafford this year. But for Detroit, they got a great offensive line. That's one thing. It'll at least be protected. I'll give them that. But Chicago, going with Andy Dalton, QB1, the Red Rocket. Would you go with Andy Dalton week 1, or is Justin Fields your week 1 starter?
Well, is it 2021 or 2011? If it's 2011, I'm going with Andy Dalton. Right. But you know what? I think the Bears are looking at it saying we're not as good as people think we are. Honestly, I think that it's kind of tough. It's kind of the same thing as the Patriots, right? Same kind of thing. But I'm torn on it. I really am. I thought about it over the last couple of days. I think that there's just so much hype around Fields to be the guy that whether you go with him week 1 or not, I don't know. Like I'm honestly torn. I really wish I could give a better take on this one. I think that if you go with Dalton and he doesn't succeed, then you can go, like, it's okay to go to Fields.
Easy to go to Fields,
it's easy to go to Fields. But if you go to Fields and he doesn't do what everyone wants him to do right away, it might really hurt him because there's a lot of pressure on him. So it's the tough decision to go with Dalton, right? Like the fans want them to go with Fields. It is the tough call. But at the end of the day, I think I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Their offensive line scares the hell out of me. We saw Justin Fields get blown up in that Buffalo game where his helmet got popped off. And I'm like, okay.
Well, that's the thing. I think they see that too. And I think that they don't want what happened to Joe Burrow to happen to Fields.
I mean, they got Aaron Donald week 1.
Yeah, there you go, right there, right?
Sunday Night Football,
right?
So
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and it's tough because I think Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace must have got something from ownership that makes them believe that they're not, their neck's not in the guillotine, even though I think it probably should be after what they've done. But to me, if they feel like they're under the gun, if they don't make the playoffs, something doesn't happen, Justin Fields is on the field week 1. Whether that's good for his development or not, we've seen teams do this where management's like, okay, I'm getting fired. My best chance to win is with Justin Fields. I'm going with him no matter what.
100%. You see that in every league of, oh, why are they playing that guy so much? Well, they're trying to win, because if they lose, the guy's losing his job.
Right.
And at the end of the day, if you know that you're safe, if they said, listen, no matter what, you got another year. I mean, no one's ever really safe, but if they feel like they're safe, then maybe you do go with Dalton. But and at the end of the day, Dalton's not awful.
Gotta quit.
Right? Like, looking at some of the other quarterbacks in the league, Dalton is better than some of them, right? So he's not, it's not like they're throwing out Tyrod Taylor to start, I would take Dalton over Tyrod Taylor.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's going to be, I think there's too much hype around the Bears, to be honest with you. And the fact that I just don't think I think they're a good team. I don't think they're a great team.
So you don't think they're a playoff team?
I maybe the last spot. That would be it. Maybe sneak in, but the NFC West is so strong.
Yeah, they could have 3 teams from that division make the playoffs.
I think 4 of those teams, like either
one of the 4 of them records.
Yeah, any one of the 4 of those. I mean, I know we're going to get there in a minute, but I think any one of the 4 of those teams can make the playoffs.
Right. I don't know if Minnesota's going to be much better than Chicago, Wrighter. I look at their team and their defense. They basically brought a whole new defense in with Patrick Peterson coming over from Arizona. They got Breland coming from the Chiefs, Woods from Dallas. I just look at their team and say, Kirk Cousins, I've never loved him, never will. Kirk D. Cousins Jr. the third. He's not vaccinated. So again, that could be a problem where we've already seen them have their whole quarterback room basically get shut down. But Minnesota, what do you feel about them?
Very much indifferent. They could be, there's going to be a lot of hype around them. They love for some reason, the league loves talking about Minnesota. I really don't know why.
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, they love Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins gets more airtime than anyone in the league for some reason. So good for him, right? But I just don't think they're very good at the end of the day. I think the Packers are going to steamroll the division, and I don't see the Packers win the Super Bowl either, but I just don't think the Vikings, I think the whole division's overrated at the end of the day. I think that's a hot take by me, but I think that whole division's overrated. They love talking about the NFC North isn't the NFC North of 2013. It's the NFC North of 2021. And that's
I don't even think the Packers are that good, to be honest.
No, I just don't think the division's very strong.
Yeah, and you look at Green Bay's schedule, everybody's like, oh, they'll just be 13-4. Like, they got a tough schedule. Like, they're it's not gonna be a cakewalk that it was last year. And I agree with you. I don't think this division is that good. And I think the Packers will look better this season because they get to play Detroit twice, get to play Chicago twice, Minnesota. And that's what benefits a lot of teams. And you get to the playoffs and you're like, oh, this team's so good. And then they get steamrolled. Well, it kind of tells you what, who they played a lot that year. Right.
For sure. At the end of the day, I think the Bears could be better than what I'm saying. We'll see how many games do you think Fields gets in?
I think I'm going to get their schedule up here. I know they played the Rams week 1, which that would scare the living hell out of me. Week 2, they got the Bengals. So that's a win. We'll say with Dalton as QB1, right? Agree with me there. Then they go to Cleveland, Myles Garrett, Jadavius. Yeah, no. Then they got Detroit week 4.
They're probably 2-2.
2-2, right? So it's hard to pull them there. Then they go to Las Vegas, your Raiders.
Well, that's a big game right there.
Yeah.
Week 5.
And you said they're going to have Vegas kind of a winning home record. So that's a win for Vegas.
Yeah.
Then they play Green Bay.
Okay. So they bring them in after the Green Bay game then.
Maybe week 7. They'll be 2-4. And that next week they are at the Bucs. Maybe after the Bucs.
Well, but at that point, then you're 2-5. Then it's too late.
Right. Good point. Yeah. That's a tough one to throw them. And then, they got San Francisco the week after. So they got a tough schedule here. Maybe it's after. It's tough maybe after the Vegas game, week 6 before they play Green Bay, maybe they go then.
Yeah. So if they're 2-3.
Yeah.
Then go. But then you're throwing them in. You say you're throwing them in against that those 3 or 4 teams in a row. That's a tough start to your NFL career.
Damn right. Yeah. They don't have their bye till later in the season. So yeah, they don't have their bye till week 10. So it's going to be midweek decision to put a rookie in, which is never always the best scenario, but unless they just go to him after week 1, which you got Cincinnati week 2. That's a pretty good way to start your career.
That could be the play. That could be the play.
Because after, let Andy Dalton break 3 ribs against Aaron Donald and then go to Cincinnati and, that might be the game. It might honestly just be 1 week, which is stupid to me, Writer, that you would just say, 1 game and now we're going to go to them. But we've seen teams do this all the time.
Yeah. Well, I'll have my eyes on the Bears. I'll be more interested in the Bears than I've been in the years past. Yeah,
for sure. Mitch on the bench in Buffalo, but I think he'll find another gig eventually for old Mitsubishi Mitch. Let's get to the NFC West, our last division here. Like you said, loaded division.
Loaded.
Where do you want to start in the NFC West?
Well, to me, I think you got to look at the Rams. I love the Rams. I've always been a Ram. Even when they played the Patriots Super Bowl, I like the Rams. They're just a fun team to watch. Fun team to bet on, honestly. But with the new quarterback, Matt Stafford coming in, could be a bust, could be MVP of the league.
Yeah.
All right. Could be either way. I think the Rams have a good team. I think Seattle's a good football team. I think Arizona, this could be a breakout year for Arizona, what they've done in the offseason. I think Kyler Murray could be MVP. I know we're going to get to those talks down the road here. And the 49ers, this is a rebound year for the 49ers. I think you could see them having a big year. The division games in this division, I cannot wait for. I'm going to be watching almost as many division games in the NFC West as possible. I'm going to watch because anyone can win. They're must-see games.
Totally agree. The Rams definitely are the favorite right now. I think slightly, like you said, it's very close. But I do like the Rams. Stafford is a good quarterback. I do think he's been overhyped throughout his career, but he is a great quarterback. Their running game, they got Sony Michel from your Patriots now. So after Cam Akers went down, so he'll get some snaps.
Cam Akers is a big loss.
Yeah, it is. I totally agree. But Donald and Leonard Floyd and Jalen Ramsey, who might be the best corner in the NFL. So they got a loaded defense. I mean, we'll see what the Bears can do with their offensive line week 1 against these Rams. To me, Arizona, I think they could be last in this division just because Kingsbury and Murray, they just don't seem to be clicking. The back half of last year, it was pretty ugly to watch for Arizona. When Kyler had to stay in the pocket, he was not an effective quarterback. When he couldn't scramble, he didn't have what it took to get wins.
That's true. Arizona could be I think Arizona could win the division or they could come last in the division.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could say, I think the Rams don't finish last in the division.
Yeah, agreed.
I think out of the other 3 teams, you could say they could finish first or last. I really do. But I think Kyler Murray's a really good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is a stud. Now, whether or not he gets the ability to do so, that remains the question.
Yeah. San Francisco, they obviously got Jimmy Garoppolo.
Porn star Jimmy.
Yeah, porn star Jimmy. But they got Trey Lance behind him.
Yep.
How long is Jimmy the starter?
Well, I think you could see.
Want me to go through their schedule?
Definitely going to go to Lance. Bring up their schedule if you don't mind. I know they're going to go to Lance at some point because the division's tough. They're going to lose some games in there.
Yeah. So they start out with the Lions. That's a win.
There's a win.
Then they play the Eagles. That's a win.
Okay, so let's say they should be 2-0.
Should be 2-0 there. Then they play the Packers on Sunday night at home. They could win that game.
That's an interesting game. They could be, let's say 2-1 or 3-0 right now. Roughly.
Yeah. Then they got Seattle at home. There's a good game. 5:05. Tune into that one. Cardinals Rams playing the same day. That pisses me off. Both division games at the same time. Field pass, I guess.
Yeah, it could be interesting. I think he'll come in at some point. But the other thing, Garoppolo's been known to get hurt, right?
Yeah,
So
very, very true.
like, we'll
Yeah.
see if he can stay healthy. We'll see what he can do. I think you're going to see Lance at some point this year. I think there's a lot of teams where we're saying you're going to see their backups at some point in the year, which is crazy to say.
Yeah.
But it seems like a lot of teams are in that boat.
Week 4, the Cardinals, Rams, Seahawks, 49ers, Steelers, Packers, all 5:00 games. Those are pretty damn good games.
Those are some great games. I think it will say a lot about that division after that week.
Yeah, and then you got Bucks, Pats on Sunday night.
Jeez, that's a good week. What's the week 4?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'll mark that in the calendar for sure.
Yeah, mark that one down.
That's nice too, because it starts to get a little colder outside too. You can't go golfing anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that. Okay, week 4, perfect.
And it starts off the week just rip roaring. Jags, Bengals on Thursday night.
Oh, baby. Why didn't you start with that one? Oh man. I can't be going on dates on that night. I gotta be sorry. I'm staying in though. Watch that one, that barn burner.
Yeah.
But no, back to the division. Arizona is a wild card. I think Seattle's pretty good, but I don't think that they're winning the division. I like the Rams to win the division.
Yeah, I'll take the Rams as well. I'll probably go San Fran. I'm going to say Arizona's going to finish last. I just have little faith in them. Odds tell me to say pick Seattle to finish just because they're so consistent. Mm-hmm. But San Francisco's are really, really good. And to me, their whole team is based on health. Kittle, Garoppolo, Bosa. If they stay healthy, I think they could really push the Rams. If these key players get hurt, Arizona will finish above them.
100%.
But
100% agree.
Yeah, I agree with you right now. The
best division in football.
Yeah, not even close. With me, I totally agree. The Rams, so the NFC West, best division in football, and like you said, those division games are gonna be must watch, especially week 4 with back-to-back at 5:00, where you have to find some local listings or some different channels, maybe some field pass to get your hands on those games. Let's talk MVP. Who, as of right now, who's your front runner to win the MVP this season?
You know what? My front runner, I think if you go away from Mahomes, that's kind of a tough call. Mm-hmm. You know what? We just talked about it. Matthew Stafford. This is a huge year for him. Mm-hmm. And if they let Murray out of the pocket, I like Kyler Murray as well. So those are the kind of 3 names I wrote down. I know they're all quarterbacks, kind of it's been a quarterback driven MVP the last little while. You never know, maybe a running back to sneak into there, but I like those 3. It's hard to go against Mahomes, especially that division's very weak too. But I like Stafford's interesting. He intrigues me a lot to see what he can do. Yeah, Stafford, I think he's the Vegas favorite right now, the betting favorite anyway. I read this week. Sneaky one for me, Tom Brady. Okay. Wow, I can't believe that's coming out of your mouth, Jug. I know. I can't believe that is coming out of your mouth. 44. He's got a great team, great receivers. He always stays healthy. Bad division. He'll stat pad like he did in the AFC East. Oh, okay. Yeah. Backhanded compliment. Just a fact. I'll give me Tom. Okay. I like it. You know me. I'm a big, I got a Brady plaque in the basement. I got a Brady jersey. So, I mean, I got no problem with if Brady wins the MVP. I actually like Tom Brady way more now because his interviews are actually interesting and he's kind of funny. He's got a lot more character to him for sure. Yeah, he's not like golly gee whiz, like just boring, dad. Yeah. No, and his social media presence has been pretty entertaining too. Yeah, I love it. As a content guy, I love that he's embraced it and he's being Tom. So yeah, any other guys kind of pop up to you other than Mahomes is a you can look at Aaron Donald potentially. Yeah. I mean, he's a stud. He's one there. Aaron Donald's a good player, but I'm going to stick with those. I'll throw him in that mix. I'll go Donald, Stafford, Murray, and Mahomes are but those are obvious picks, right? I don't have a wild card coming out, I don't think. Yeah. Donald, I'd love to see a defensive Derek Carr, Vegas. Derek Carr.
You got to throw $20 on Carr after this podcast. I think you got to put $20.
I will go. I will go get a ticket and I will send you Derek Carr this weekend. I'll do it before the season starts. Before next week, before the season starts Thursday, I will put money on Derek Carr to win MVP.
I love it. I like Derek. Like I said, I like Derek Carr. I'm not going to throw a dime on Teddy Bridgewater. I'll tell you that. But I put money on Von Miller first. No, I like that. Derek Carr, a little sneaky one. There's a good little MVP pick. This is early. Well, you'll be on the podcast many more times throughout this season. But if you had to pick a Super Bowl right now, and this is so early, like we'll make our selections later. But just looking at the teams. Who gives you the best feeling Super Bowl as of right now?
Rams, Browns.
Okay. I like it.
But don't be afraid. I like Rams, Browns, or Rams, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, it can't be Rams, Tampa Bay. They're both in the NFC.
That's right. You're right. It can't be Rams, Tampa Bay.
Rams,
Browns. I like Rams, Browns. Yeah, Rams, Browns.
Yeah, I got the Browns as well. I like them a ton. They're loaded. Baker, like you said, Baker doesn't have to be MVP. Just be Baker Mayfield and be efficient and go win some games and people can shut up in the media. But I'm going to go Browns, probably Browns Bucks. I know that's lame because the Bucks were there last year. If I had to pick a team that didn't make it, I don't love Green Bay. I don't love anybody from just looking through probably be the Rams or
Buffalo, maybe.
Buffalo. Yeah, Buffalo. Yeah, maybe Buffalo. But the NFC, I do think is easier because I just look at it and say, after the Bucks and Rams, who's really the next big threat? I mean, San Francisco is we don't know. Seattle, Arizona maybe, but after that, there's no really team that is like definitive.
Yeah. I think the winner of the NFC West is going to have a real easy trip to the Super Bowl.
Right.
Like to the conference, not to the Super Bowl.
The Bucks in the conference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to be the Bucks against the winner of the NFC West.
Agreed. Yeah. I don't think the Packers get back to a championship game this year.
I don't see it. I don't see it.
Is it Aaron Rodgers last year in Green Bay?
Yes. Yes.
Whether
it's his last year in Green, it's either his last year in Green Bay or his last year in the league. One of the two.
Yeah.
I think he could just walk. If he doesn't, I think he's done in Green Bay for sure. And I think if he doesn't see something in the market that interests him and that it like a perfect fit, I think he might just retire. Yeah,
I could see that too. Because he's starting to piss me off with some of his antics and he's he's just being a prima donna. But before we wrap today, college football started week 0 last week. Nebraska, Illinois, big game.
Yeah. I bet Nebraska. Well, I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but every year they talk about Nebraska. And anyway, I got sucked in.
Scott Frost did it to you again.
Yeah, he did it in.
Ohio State got a scare last night from Minnesota, but they ended up winning the game 45-31. What got you excited for week 1 of the college football season starting tomorrow?
Last night. I think last night got me excited. I'm always excited for college football. I'm very passionate about college football. I know you are too. There seems to be a lot less college football fans than there are NFL fans, but I really, especially in Canada, but I really do love college football. And I'm glad I got my roommate on college football last year and he's really into it this year. So I think it's going to be a very intriguing season too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big games early, which is exciting. But last night really got me fired up. You take a team like Minnesota, they're a 14-point dog, and the game ended up 14, so they had the line rate perfect. But it's an interesting game at half. Minnesota's winning, and they're beating Ohio State, which is ranked 4th in the country, and that's the stuff you want to see.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a great year. And I know you have some games that you're interested in. If you are a college football fan, or even if you're not a college football fan, Saturday night, Georgia Clemson, watch that football game.
Agreed. Completely. Yeah. That to get that on week 1 is really unheard of. Yeah, that's a great game. And number 5 and number 3 in the country. These two will play each other every year because they're in the Big Ten, but Penn State, Wisconsin Indiana, Iowa. That's two really good games.
Iowa's a good football team. Iowa State's going to be very good this year.
Yeah, Iowa State would be good. Also, we talked about LSU, UCLA Saturday night. Can UCLA, they're 1-0 after dominating Hawaii, but can Chip Kelly get that program back on the road, so to speak? Can he get it going? Your Fighting Irish start against Florida State in a standalone game Sunday night. How do you think your team season is going to go?
I mean, everyone's saying they're going to be worse this year, which, they lost Ian Book.
Yeah.
They lost the quarterback. Their defense is still strong. All right. Kieran Williams, they're a good team. All right. Notre Dame's a good football team. They are going to lose. They're not going to be in the playoffs this year. I really don't see it. If they are, I mean, that's obviously I'm very excited about that, but I just don't see them being there. I think they'll lose, 3 to 4 games this year. But that being said, one of the biggest games of the year, in my opinion, which a lot of people probably aren't talking about, Cincinnati, Notre Dame. Okay. Cincinnati is, we saw what they did last year. If Cincinnati wants to get into that top 4,
beat Notre Dame.
They have to beat Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I hope they don't, but they have to beat Notre Dame. That's the game I'm more intrigued about than any other game this year is Cincinnati, Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Since I'd love to see Cincinnati get in just to break that up. Also, North Carolina, a team this year. North Carolina's not usually talked about in football. Obviously, they're a basketball school, but Sam Howell, potentially the first overall pick in next year's draft. If Spencer Rattler's the favorite, but he's got a big arm. He's fun to watch. North Carolina could be on the national stage here this season because of him.
For sure, but this is what I don't understand. They're playing tonight against Virginia Tech. Mm-hmm. They're only -5.5, less than a touchdown.
Yeah.
To me, North Carolina demolishes them tonight.
You going to take North Carolina?
100% I'm taking North Carolina on that game. I think North Carolina, if they want to make a stand, they have to win that game by 2-3 touchdowns.
Yeah, and I think they will.
I think they will too. So when I saw the number 5.5, I was just very confused on that because I thought Notre Dame, is Virginia Tech better than I thought? Maybe I'm missing something on Virginia.
Yeah, maybe
Tech.
We'll see something tonight. North Carolina's lost 3 running backs to the NFL, but they still have Howell. That's strange to me. Maybe they're doing it just to get people to tune into the game so that they can get people to start betting on Sam Howell to win the Heisman. Yeah,
that could, I don't know, that maybe, but it's just that line seemed really weird to me, -5.5. I just thought North Carolina's just actually a much better team than Virginia Tech, but maybe we're missing something there. But all in all, college football, it's going to be a great year of college. I'm glad everyone's back, right? Last year we had some conferences, playing 6 games, right? Mm-hmm. At least everyone's back now, and players are making money. Yeah. Right. So that's another thing that's very interesting is players are signing card deals. Players are making money. Now, towards the end of the year, bowl games. Do players, I'm sure we'll talk about this down the road. Are players going to be sitting out when they have a big deal with someone who wants them on the field? What happens there? Yeah, that'll be a fight. I think they'll have to finagle their way into saying, no, I'll make you more money in the NFL, which could be true. But yeah, that Hawaii Bowl we're hoping December 24th. Me and you, we're going to keep crusading for that all year. December, we need some December 24th damn college football bowl games. I'll watch Michigan on December. We know they're not going to be playing in the playoffs, so put them on against somebody. But no, I'm pumped for college football tonight. You got North Carolina tonight. You got Michigan State, Northwestern. That's a 10 o'clock kickoff. That's not a bad game tonight either. So great weekend of college football. Writer. So great to catch up, man. Always a pleasure having you on. We'll do it much more throughout the football season. Awesome. Thanks for having me on, Jug. Looking forward to NFL and NCAA. It's going to be a great year of football, and it's always nice to get away from the rink and talk a different sport other than hockey. I'm talking hockey all day, every day, so it's nice to talk some football. Thanks for having me on, and enjoy the rest of your summer. Thanks, buddy. Everybody have a great long weekend. Enjoy the nice weather, the rain while it's here, and everybody just enjoy the football this weekend, and we'll talk soon.